the people of Indonesia are having their voices heard. So we need to engage with them more deeply. Yeah, so that's engaging. And we engage through, like I said, through the forums, through our social media, and through our partnerships. Yeah. Inspiring is because we not that we want to, but I think our programs, our speakers inspire Indonesians. And not just Indonesians, but also across Asia. Yeah. So inspiring is important because if you're inspired to do something, your spirit is in it, and you will strive hard to achieve it. So inspiring becomes important. We want to inspire and aspire to be better.
Okay. Making other people move.
Right. So you have to be able to move people. So inspiring means we want to get people thinking, right?
Okay.
And forward-looking is basically because in today's great disruption, you cannot look back all the time. So history is important. Understanding where you come from is important, but you must always look forward. Because if you look forward and you can imagine what is coming, then you can actually achieve that. Because imagination is important. And imagination comes from forward-looking. So the idea is, we all want to say we always want to do better in the world, in going forward, okay? So it must be forward-looking. So we always try and capture the latest technology, the latest ideas. We also invite people who are forward-looking.
Okay. Indonesian people usually say that we are full of, we have lots of imaginative people. Do you agree? And how can we take advantage from this imagination that we have?
Well, yes, I think Indonesians are incredibly imaginative and also very, what do you call it, creative.
Creative.
Right? So, if you think about today, if you look at what's happening, you know, imagination helps you to create and design things, and ideas come to your head, right? So you need an imagination to be able to see, look, okay, you know, how can I achieve this? For example, okay, today we talk about a digital economy. We all talk about Gojek.
Yeah.
How did Gojek come about? It was imagination. It wasn't something that, you know, dropped out of the sky. Somebody imagined that he could connect this Gojek drivers, right? That imagination took him probably to look and explore ideas as to how he could do it. So he looked at platforms. And those platforms is the app that he created. So that came from imagination. So if we can be imaginative, we can actually solve a lot of our current issues. For example, let's say today, you know, we face issues of traffic congestion. We all live in Jakarta.
Yeah.
Traffic is a part of life.
Yeah.
But if we can imagine how we can actually get around without traffic, we can probably come up with some solutions which are unique to Indonesia. And then, if these solutions work here, we can actually export the solutions to other countries, which also face traffic congestion. So that is why imagination is important, to find the solutions.
Okay. Back to the topic of, to the theme of the IAF. Why is it then so important?
So, basically, the idea is, you know, I wanted to also capture the fact that, you know, we will soon be entering a political season.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
2019, we will have presidential elections. We will also have parliamentary elections. Right? So, it is important that we set an agenda for the next 5 years. And because we are having an election, we want to hear as Indonesians, what is the agenda from the candidates? What is the agenda for Indonesia? It's nice to just talk about, you know, I will be sejahtera, I will justice, but what is your agenda? What are you going to promote, right? So that is why I call a new agenda for Indonesia. So I've invited them. So if you look at our program, we have, you know, both sides represented. We made a lot of effort to make sure both sides are represented because we are a neutral platform. We don't support either one or the other. We support Indonesia. We want to see Indonesia maju. So if these guys are going to memimpin Indonesia, what is your agenda?
Okay. So, well, people can make a decision then
Ab-
which one to choose.
Absolutely. And that is why, we should have such platforms where people are able to ask questions to the leaders. They're up on there, on the stage, they can ask questions, we can see what they answer, and you make your decision based on that.
Okay. Shoeb, what do you think the key priorities for this nation over the next 5 years?
Well, that's a very good question. What would be the key priorities, right? So I think we know, for example, the idea of connectivity is important.
Connectivity, okay.
Right. So what is connectivity? Connectivity, I think we have started on the road with under Papa President Jokowi in terms of the infrastructure connectivity. But we have to go beyond that. What would be the next level of connectivity? The next level of connectivity will be digital connectivity, right? Whereby, for example, today we already have, I would say, decent digital connectivity. Decent, but it's not good enough because our level of 4G, if we look at 3G, 4G, 5G, we are still quite slow if we compare to other countries.
Yes.
So if you want to compete, you got to improve your digital connectivity. So people, for example, you want to sell big documents, big files, and digital connectivity, it comes back to your earlier point about imagination, because your imagination will mean solutions that are digital. And if you do not have your digital bandwidth, you cannot operate. So for example, today, for example, the AI is coming. Yeah. AI needs digital connectivity. You cannot have AI if you do not have digital connectivity.
We don't talk about AI that often,
yeah,
right here.
But we should. That's the whole point, because it's here. Other countries are already doing it, Imagine if you're driving somewhere and your car can talk to the buildings. If your car or if the traffic light can tell you, connect, the way ahead is congested, you should take another route, and this is the route. That's number one. Number two, imagine if you can operate faster machines. This all is AI, right? Artificial intelligence is going to drive and disrupt many industries, including medicine. So today we talk about being able to operate, remotely. A doctor sitting in Jakarta can do an operation in Papua. He doesn't have to go to Papua. But he needs the digital connectivity to do it. Right? So that's why it's very critical. Connectivity is going to be very important. Second issue, I think the second probably biggest priority would be upgrading the education system, because all this technology will need people with the right skills, with the right knowledge to operate and to make use of, to leverage on, to benefit from. It cannot, we cannot just be users without thinking, right? So our education system must be able to incorporate all these new formats. So for example, one of the themes that we have at the Indonesia Economic Forum today is the future of work.
Future?
Of work.
Of work.
Future of work.
Future of work. Okay.
So in the future, what will work be like? So we have a company called Caliber. They are from Canada. And they have set up a system where, through the internet, they are able to help students imagine things, but at the same time work with them, like makers, right? That will require new technology. It will require a new form of classroom. You cannot have a teacher and everybody sit and listen. You got to get engaged, right? So education is going to be very critical. And what is going to drive the change in education is digital distribution of curriculum.
Okay.
Right? And so that again is going to be a game changer. So that, I think, education is very important. And third, I think most importantly is probably, this might sound a bit a little bit contentious, is deregulation.
Deregulation. Okay.
We are too regulated.
Too
many undang-undang that don't make sense. You need to harmonize those undang-undang. you need to harmonize the ministries, right? Because if you have to run around and try to understand one ministry's regulation against another ministry's regulation, you're not going to get much things done. Lawyers will be happy. Yeah, I have a lot of lawyer friends, but they will be happy. But we need to deregulate because the digital economy will not wait for you. And if you can see what is already happening, people will move without the government because that is the nature of human progress. If the government gets in the way, they will be left behind. So I think the government as a whole, I'm not just talking about the president.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the whole government,
the whole
mechanism,
bureaucracy,
which means parliament, which means the judiciary, which means the executive. Everybody, this is the government. You better shape up because change won't wait for you.
Okay, so that 3.
Yeah.
Connectivity, education system, and
deregulation.
Okay. I think it's enough for this segment, and then we will continue about the D-Day program, who will be the speakers and who will attend the event. Pendengar Trijaya tetap bersama kami kembali di dalam The Leader setelah selingan berikut ini. Okay.
Good.
Yeah. Segmen ketiga, langsung ya. Ya, pendengar Trijaya, saya Lia Kristi masih di The Leader bersama Shoeb Kagda, founder Indonesia Economic Forum, yang pada tahun ini akan mengambil topik Connecting Indonesia, a New 5-Year Agenda. Kali ini kita akan ngobrol tentang hari hanya nanti di 21 November itu siapa-siapa saja yang akan hadir. I can see from the website you have some high-profile names, and I'm sure you do that very hard to make them appears on the day. Who are they?
Yes, I am very honored actually and very privileged to have such a stellar lineup of speakers. So we will have, for example, Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim from Malaysia.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that we are actually inviting an ASEAN leader to the forum. Dr. Sri has tentatively agreed. He's trying to fix his schedule, but we are hoping very much that he will come. We also have presidential candidate Prabowo Subianto. I think it will be very good for people to hear of his agenda and where he wants to take this nation. Okay. We also have Luhut Panjaitan, the coordinating minister for maritime affairs. He will be talking about the current government's agenda going forward. We will also have Bagita Wirawan, the former minister of trade and founder of Ancora. We will have Maruf Amin and Pak Sandy Uno, both of them who are vice presidential candidates. We are hoping that they will share with us some of their economic key priorities. Both of them have mentioned a different concept of economy, which is quite interesting because Pak Maruf is talking about a Sharia economy.
Yeah.
What does that exactly mean? And how will he promote it? How will it impact us as Indonesians, right? And of course, Pak Sandy is talking about promoting startups, the digital economy, the whole idea of sharing economy. So I think it'll be very interesting to see the two of them. We also have Ridwan Kamil, who's talking about digital Jawa Barat. And that is also very important because I think what he imagines and his program will have an impact on many other provinces if he succeeds, you know. So we will also have a very interesting panel called Elections 2019 Impact on the Economy. So this is a panel which is going to be including Ibu Shinta Kamdani, who is Vice Chairman of Apindo, Pak Fauzi Iksan, who's the CEO of LPS, Pak Nico Po, who's President Director of Pollux Properties, Mr. Raj Kanan, who is a consulting partner of Deloitte, And this panel is really going to talk about the impact of the elections on the economy.
Oh, okay.
Not in the short term in terms of whether or not there will be uncertainty or not. It's really about if the elections run smoothly, number one, and if the agendas are strong enough, how will the economy react? Because I think if you know, most businesses are today on a whole and wait and see attitude in terms of let's see what happens, right?
Yeah.
But we cannot be in a wait and see attitude for too long. We need to move. So we are looking at, what the impact will be, We also have one session on boosting the digital economy, which is why I say digitalization is very critical. And then we have 2 sessions on education. The frontier is on edutech, which is how technology is impacting education and how education as an industry, can leverage on technology. And lastly is what I mentioned earlier, is the creating jobs of the future. And what kind of jobs can we expect to be doing in the future? What kind of jobs will be lost? So if you are today in education, if you're going to be preparing your students for jobs 10, 15 years from now, there's no point preparing for a job that is existing today and won't exist tomorrow. So you have to have an idea of the skills that are needed.
Okay. How many are they, the speakers?
So we have approximately between 20 to 25 total in number.
Okay, that's quite big.
Yes.
And how do you select the speakers and how do you approach them?
That's a good question. Approaching them basically through many channels. Many of them I know personally through my previous work as a journalist. I've been very lucky that I've met them and built good relations with them. And they have supported me in the past. Pak Sandy has been at previous forums. Pak Gita has also spoken at previous forums. Pak Pravo has, I've connected to him various times too. And of course, Pak Luhut is a well-known figure, and we are very thankful that he has accepted our invitation.
He's confirmed.
Confirmed, yes.
Confirmed. Okay. What are the differences between IEF and any other business or economic forum?
Okay, so what number one, I guess there is a large space for economic forums. Yeah, everybody has a different take on a forum. Yeah. What differentiates us are probably 2 things. One is we are in English. Primarily.
Okay.
So why are we in English? Although we could do it in Bahasa, but why are we in English? Because, like I said earlier, if you want to speak to the world, unfortunately you have to speak in English. And I think Indonesia needs to speak to the world. And when we do these sessions, we videotape all of them, and we produce a lot of content from them. So it's not just 600 people in the room. We have a larger audience of about 150,000 who follow us.
Okay.
So across the world.
Across the world.
And that's why it's important. So that makes us different. And number 2, I mean, if you look at the English space for forums, we have other forums such as the Economist Forum, we have the World Economic Forum. They all come to Indonesia, but I would say they only come once in a while. They don't come every day or every year. They're not based here. I live here. I've been living here for 20 years. So hopefully I have a better understanding of what is happening in this country. And I think thirdly, we don't just engage with the elite. Like I told you earlier, we engage with all cross segments of society. We engage with academia, we engage with youth, we engage with civil society. So our platform is neutral, which means we don't take any sides, but it's also multi-stakeholder. So I think that differentiates, and that's why I say we are actually a content creation platform. That is the main differentiator.
Okay. Before we take a break, if Dato' Anwar Ibrahim come, what can we expect he will speak?
Well, yeah, keeping our fingers crossed he's coming. You never know. But what we have asked him to talk about is really his vision of, or maybe his insights, firstly, about the changing landscape in the Asia-Pacific region. How does ASEAN position itself vis-a-vis these changes? You have a trade war going on. You might have, you never know, but you might have military confrontation in the South China Sea. You cannot dismiss it, right? ASEAN has been kind of a bridge between many worlds in the past. Yeah, we've also acted as a peacemaker in the past. So what is the role of ASEAN going forward? That's number one. Number two, ASEAN is also now a major economic force. Taken as a whole, it is the fourth largest economy in the world. That's huge. But we don't really shout about it, all right? So how does ASEAN work together, number one? And number two, the position of Indonesia within ASEAN. Vis-a-vis somebody from outside, not from what we think ourselves, but what others think of us. So what does he think about Indonesia's position in ASEAN, right? Indonesia is the largest country. It is the largest economy, right? But ASEAN does not really operate on the basis of size and might. It operates on the principle of cooperation, right? So what is the new dynamic within ASEAN? And lastly, of course, hopefully he will touch on the relationship between Indonesia and Malaysia, given what's happened in Malaysia recently.
Okay.
You know, there's whole change in government. Yeah. There's a new vibrancy in that country. There's a new attitude in that country. How will that flow over into Indonesia? I believe, and I think Pak Anwar might say this, is that Malaysia was inspired by Indonesia. Because we have had reformasi.
Yeah.
We've shown ASEAN that it can be done. Hopefully that inspired them.
Okay. I hope he can come.
Yeah.
Okay. Baik, pendengar Trijaya, masih ada satu segmen lagi ya. Nanti kita akan masih berbincang bersama Shoeb Kagda. Kami ingatkan Anda, kalau Anda punya tanggapan, silahkan kirimkan ke 0812 111 1046. Kami kembali sesaat lagi. Langsung? Oke.
Sekarang closing.
Closing ya? Okay. Ya, pendengar Trijaya, ini adalah segmen terakhir kita berbincang bersama mana tadi supaya mana ya, sebentar. Ulang ya. Baik, pendengar Trijaya, ini adalah segmen terakhir kita berbincang bersama Shoeb Kagda, founder Indonesia Economic Forum dalam The Leader. Silakan kalau Anda masih punya tanggapan, kirimkan ke 0812 111 1046. Shoeb, how do you see the economic outlook for Indonesia, specifically in 2019?
Well, I think it's quite clear now that Indonesia is growing sustainably. Yeah, we are growing at 5%, over 5% on an annual basis. Yeah, which is largely driven by a number of sectors, including consumer sector. I think the whole e-commerce sector is going to contribute to more growth. And the government's infrastructure drive has also boosted growth, right, going forward. 2019, we will see some headwinds externally, which will impact us internally. Yeah. If, for example, the trade war between China and the US intensifies, that will have an impact on the rest of the world. We also have to look at global financial trends, where at the moment a lot of global capital is moving back to the United States. That will impact emerging market currencies. Today, you already know that the rupiah is under some pressure, it's weakened considerably. Will it weaken further? We don't know, right? If it does, there will be an impact on consumer confidence, on investor confidence, And I think thirdly, probably people will be looking at elections to see, what is the message coming out of these elections. So I want to raise this issue, whereby we have to send a clear message as to whether Indonesia is open to the world or is it closed to the world. When I say open to the world, really, are we embracing of new ideas, new technology, maybe even thinking differently about our own economic model, right? In the past, Indonesia has always been open to foreign investments coming in, yeah. But again, we know that there are certain industries that are close to foreign investors. I'm not saying that they should be open, but what I'm saying is that we should be a little bit more open to attracting talent.
Okay.
Right? Yes, we mentioned earlier that Indonesians are highly creative, very imaginative, but wouldn't it be great if you were to be able to engage with similarly talented people from other countries that you can exchange ideas with and come up with new solutions? So, for example, today we know that in education, let me go back, in the universities, right? Our universities need to engage more closely with foreign universities. We need to invite their lecturers to come and teach here. Our lecturers to go and teach there. That's what I mean by being open. Are you open to that mindset? Are you open to foreign students coming to Indonesia and studying here? Yes, Indonesian students go abroad, but how many come here? Right? And the only reason they will come here if they know that they will benefit from that experience.
Okay.
That's one, right? So being open to the world in many sectors, yeah, that's just one small segment of what I mean by being open.
Okay, but many Indonesian think that being too open to the world can be a big threat. Can you see that?
Well,
especially
yes, I can understand your point of view of a threat, yeah. But I think it is a bigger threat to Indonesia if we don't open up. So let me just give you another example. Okay, we all talk about China, but there's another country that has recently opened up, which is India. So since independence of India in 1947, I think they gained independence, until 1989 or 1990 when they opened up, India was a closed economy. They did not allow foreign investors. They did not allow exchange of ideas. They did not allow many Indian students to go abroad. It was very controlled. What happened? They were decades behind. Yeah, Indian people are smart, right? You know that.
Yeah.
But why were they decades behind? If you went to India, you'd find cars that were actually 1950 models, and people were queuing months and months and months to buy them. Why? Because they had no new technology. They refused to accept new technology. In the meantime, the Japanese had gone way ahead, the Koreans had gone way ahead, and they were left behind. And then in 1989 or 1990, they decided to open up because, you know what? They were bankrupt. And why were they bankrupt? Because they were closed. So what is the threat? Where is the bigger threat? Being closed and being left behind, or being open to the world? And accepting that there might be changes.
Okay. As we're moving forward, as a founder of the Indonesia Economic Forum, what inspired you to start this forum?
Well, yeah, my background has been in media. I've been a journalist all my life. I still consider myself a journalist.
Okay.
Maybe now I call myself a mediapreneur. You gotta have a nice sexy name, right? So I call myself a mediapreneur. So I was actually inspired to start the Indonesia Economic Forum because I looked at the space in Indonesia in terms of, this whole idea of engaging with people, And forums are not a new idea. I mean, it wasn't something that I thought of. But what I did, I think of that really inspired me was content creation, right? And content that is really relevant to Indonesia, and content that, like I said, is forward-looking. Yeah, and this is where I think engaging with many different segments of society really helps to bring out that, you know.
Okay, that inspires you. In 2014?
2014, we had our first IEF.
The first IEF, okay. And ever since you're coming to Indonesia in 1998, yeah, okay.
After crisis.
Exactly, okay. What is the biggest challenge that you've ever faced?
Well, I think you know, in life, as you grow from one stage to another, there are always challenges. Yeah, when I first came here, you know, as a correspondent for the Singapore Business Times to cover the crisis, the challenge was, of course, you know, understanding what was happening, reporting it, moving around was a challenge because of the crisis. You know, of what was happening. I was here in the May 1998 riots. You know, and I saw all of that. I saw it. I was on the streets.
Okay.
So I've seen how the country has progressed over the last 20 years. Yeah. But I guess the biggest challenge really is always finding the next thing that will inspire you, that will motivate you, right? That will take you forward. So when I moved from being a correspondent to being an editor-in-chief and publisher, so I started Indonesia's first English language business magazine, which is called Globe Asia. You know, so that was also a real challenge. It was hard work to get that off the ground, to build a team,
huge.
And to do, you know, I was in a way helping to run the business as well as editorial. So now I was wearing more than just one hat. But it was a very positive challenge in the sense that I learned a lot in doing that, you know. And then, of course, when I started the Indonesia Economic Forum, it was a different challenge. So I went from being what I would call entrepreneur within an organization to an entrepreneur who now I have to go look for the money. No one's going to pay me a salary, you know. Right? So this is a whole new challenge in terms of building a business. Right? So I built product within a business. And this is the last, the latest challenge, I would call it the latest challenge is building a company and building a I would say building a product that really helps to unite Indonesia.
Okay. Do